Good morning, Mallory.
Good evening, Sam.
Welcome to Nobody Leaves, the podcast where we talk about stuff. And this week we're talking about Skip and Loafer, which you have multiple personal connections to, so I'm going to kind of give the floor over to you to start this out. Does that sound good?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that I will probably get into some of the other personal connection stuff, but I feel like the main connection that I have is the fact that the protagonist Mitsumi is a girl who moves away from like a rural area in Ishikawa to Tokyo.
She's a country bumpkin. She says the word reckon.
Yeah,
it's
the
quirky.
beautiful subtitles.
Yeah, the subtitles kind of failed me a little bit there.
like they'll like it's all good, like Saul good or something, like on the some interesting.
She talks like a good old country lawyer. I'm just a practicing country lawyer, and I'm here to talk about cigarettes. I don't know. Please continue.
Yeah, absolutely. No, but yeah, like she is from the countryside, and she is from a place that is based on the hometown of the author's mother, which is a town called Noto, which is a town that I lived in for 5 years, and absolutely love. Consider it like my one. I don't know if second home. I'm on like 3 or 4 homes at this point, so I don't know, but a home,
home B,
and a place, yeah, place that I'm very passionate about. But yeah, also a place that unfortunately, January 1st, 2024, suffered a pretty devastating earthquake. And I was talking to Sam about it and asking if we could like kind of discuss it at the top of the ep here, because their region is still suffering from like the impacts of like this 7.4 magnitude earthquake that was like absolutely devastating and insane, and recovery takes time. Recovery's been slow, so we are also asking to all 5 of our viewers, or anyone who happens to stumble across this who is passionate about Skip and Loafer, if you are able to like donate, especially to some of our like U.S. viewers. Like the dollar currently, we'll see what this administration continues to do to the dollar, but currently goes pretty far in Japan. So any support that you're able to give, we have donation links to the Japan Red Cross, and also to the like Akai Hane Society, which is more to do with like rebuilding and reconstruction, which is like really important right now for people being able to get their lives back and to like live in like normal conditions. So yeah, if you're able to donate, I've donated a lot of stuff before. I've donated clothes, obviously, but whatever you're able to give is super, super appreciated. But yeah, that's like folks, my preamble, very special episode, little
on a very special episode of Nobody Leaves podcast. Yeah, as folks are getting to know you through this podcast, like Mallory truly does live this shit. For over a year now, your Instagram has been, a little bit of a tough hang because there's a lot of like sad things going on in that region, and you are not shy about covering it and showing people what's what. And as a friend of Mallory, like tangentially, I just like it seems like a bad time. Weather be scary, and weather on an island nation be very scary. And like, to give a little context, like you were directly affected by this disaster. Like you were relocated, you were unhoused for multiple weeks, so like at least 2, right, if not more.
Yeah, I mean, I was very lucky. Like I was there during the earthquake. I was not lucky on that front. I would have rather not.
Would have called that a tough beat. Yeah, no.
When I actually experienced, so I feel like I got out pretty trauma free for the most part, but I definitely did have that moment of like, well, I'm dead. So like that definitely had an effect. But I think like yeah, I went without electricity for at least 2 weeks. During which I was like spending time I was sleeping on the floor of a like middle school science room because I had
With a high
stomach bug
fever,
and
if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I had this insane stomach bug. Like this was like the night before the earthquake. Like it was New Year's Eve. I had a New Year's Eve party to go to, and instead I had to like go in an ambulance and get like an IV because I was throwing up everything in my body. So that was unpleasant, but that had nothing to do with the earthquake.
And then the Earth said,
hit.
"What if we made this a little bit more difficult?"
The earthquake's like, we got her at her weakest state. Let's go.
Mother Earth is trying to kill Mallory.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what it felt like, and I had to be quarantined during the whole evacuation period because even though what I had was not contagious, flu and COVID and stuff obviously spreads during those kinds of times, and especially that time of year, it's January.
It piles on to an already really bad situation.
Yeah, when you're not able to sleep in a warm area, when you're in close contact with so many people, when you're not able to get the amount of nutrition you would want, food was a tough beat for a while. I feel like I kind of lucked out because I had no appetite. So I just kind of basically drank Powerade for 3 days. And I kind of avoided some of the negatives of needing to use the restroom outdoors or stuff like that because nothing going in, nothing coming out.
Oh man.
Yeah, so that was definitely pros and cons of having a stomach bug in a natural disaster. But yeah, I feel like the bigger effect on me was I didn't have water for 6 months, which some areas got water quicker than others. I was very lucky that I had a friend who got water back pretty quickly, and I was able to shower at his house from time to time. But there were a lot of nights where I'm boiling water in a pan that I got from the city hall and shampooing my hair and just dumping it over me in the bathtub. Filling up my thing and boiling another pot, and it's
it's a living.
It's a living. There were some toaster pizza parties I had with my friend who was staying with me because her apartment was even closer to the epicenter, and it was travel was scary. I think that's probably the biggest thing that was unique to the Noto area that made it very difficult with earthquake recovery is just compared to the rest of Japan, it's pretty inaccessible. It's a peninsula. On pre-earthquake, on a good day, it takes 2 hours to get to the closest major city that has train lines running. So it was very hard to get goods in and out, and very hard to travel around. And I was stuck there. I was stuck in the middle school for a week, unable to leave. Because there was no
there's not a road to get you out, right? There's
yeah, the one major road this is normally a single highway that runs the length of the peninsula and it allows for all this access was crumbled in parts. It was almost a miracle that one lane was still there and that there could be some transport going, but the fact that there were so many sections that were only one lane and communication was difficult. I couldn't contact people. My data was down. There were areas where they did blackouts so that only emergency services could communicate in that area. But at first it was don't leave because you're gonna get in the way of all these ambulances and Jeitai, the Japanese Defense Force was kind of their military coming and trying to bring all these survival supplies. But eventually it reached a point where it's yeah, if you can get out, you should get out because it's more of a burden on the support services being there in the early days. So I left for a while, eventually came back and lived the survival life for a while.
You spent some time in Tokyo, right?
Yeah, it was there were some of my students were why'd you go all the way to Tokyo? But I just was I didn't have enough money, and I was I was initially staying with a friend in like the neighboring prefecture in like Fukui, which was like uh uh you know, just kind of the closest place, and she happened to be like home for the holidays visiting her parents. But then she's like, yeah, I'm going back to Tokyo. So I was like, I guess I'll just go to Tokyo.
Guess you're gonna go to Tokyo. That's fair.
And lay low until like circumstances are so that I'm able to like go back, and like making sure my health was like recovered, because there's no like, you know, if you're not like a nurse or like a firefighter, like there's
Right.
no really use like like, yes, it's good to you know, I was like an English teacher there,
Mm.
and like, yes, it's good to like be a child entertainer and keep spirits high during tough times, but it's not so important that it's worth like jeopardizing your health over.
Right.
So there's a brief break in there, but yeah.
So much like Mitsumi, you left the country to Tokyo and then returned.
Yeah,
That's all I got. See,
one of
I
those
just know about
feelings.
anime and stuff. I don't know about like this real life like tragedy. Like all
Yeah.
I'm thinking about is like Suzume, which you haven't seen, but there's a lot of like my vague understanding is that the more rural, the more like the farther you get from like major population centers in Tokyo, like the infrastructure reduces, which I know is like how it works like
Mhm.
everywhere, but like I know it's particularly exacerbated in Japan from the like aging population like plays a huge role in that, where it's like there are just places that are shrinking in population, and that makes it like even harder to distribute resources to those places, right? And you have a lot of like more
Mhm.
rundown areas or areas that are harder to access.
Yeah, like population decrease definitely like accounts for that. Like when you don't have enough people commuting on the train to like keep it going, then there's no
Hmm.
train. Um
Right, like shutting
and
down train
that
lines like
is
a
what
big deal,
happened.
right?
Yeah, like there's actually some shots in the anime of like there's a train station in like Suzu City, which is like just north of Noto and like where the epicenter of the earthquake was.
Hmm.
Like of this like abandoned train station that's like really beautiful, but is gone now and no longer exists. And
Has it been
I took
torn
some
down, or
like,
is it just like not being used?
it's
Like,
a
is it was like
cool looking abandoned train station. There's no tracks that lead the whole
gotcha?
way. Like the tracks don't connect, so there's not like a way to. It's been replaced by like roads, but yeah, I took some cool like Misato cosplay photos there, um, many years ago. But yeah, I mean, like connecting to Skip and Loafer, like the author Misaki Takamatsu, like obviously has like strong ties to that region. She initially like when the earthquake happened, donated. I put this into U.S. dollars, so the equivalent of like $67,000, just like straight up, um, was the initial donation,
That's a
and
lot of
then
money.
yeah, and then upon like there was a push, which is like something I intended to talk about and what I initially thought I would promote, but this is no longer ongoing. But there was like a push where visiting this like website and like reading the first chapter of Skip and Loafer for free would give like a automatic, like there's like some sort of donation matching thing going on that like culminated in $150,000 donated to the prefecture. That campaign unfortunately has ended, but I mean we'll see. Like I feel like with season 2 on the like horizon, like Skip and Loafer is likely to become super relevant again, and hopefully like some of that power can again get transmuted towards like support for Noto, because it's really hard. It's really hard to rebuild the region. There's like so many like logistical challenges to like just fixing people's houses and housing people, and like the whole aging population situation, and like
Hmm.
uh uh
It's
there's
crazy to think about
mm,
like in the year 2025, like how difficult it is to move resources from one place to another. Like still, um,
yes.
I live in North Carolina. North Carolina got completely devastated by a massive hurricane 5, 6 months ago, and it's like you cannot get to certain places in the mountains because mountain roads are not accessible, and they usually follow
Yeah.
water sources, which then flood. So it leads to like landslides and just not being able to physically move material that is like needed to like then do the repairs, right? Like asphalt and concrete and wood and all that stuff. Like they were moving stuff
Right.
via helicopter for a long time,
Mm.
and that is
Yeah.
expensive.
Yeah, and even to like move stuff out, like the debris piles that like there used to be this huge like parking lot. But the parking lot's still there. But like where we
Those
would
don't go
always, like,
away.
to
They're just
park
flat.
for. Yeah, parking lot's pretty resilient. But
Thank God the parking lot stayed. You know, we lost the town, but we still have the places to park our no longer existing
pride and
cars.
joy. Well, so I would always go there and park for Abare Matsuri, which was like the Fire and Violence Festival, which is like a huge event that we would be excited about every July. And like that parking lot is just full of debris and stuff because where else can they put it? At least that's how it was like when I was last there like 6 months ago. But like yeah, like so many things, and even like resource allocation, like you mentioned the aging population. It's like there were so many diapers when I got in the middle school. It's like, okay, we made way for these like emergency vehicles to like roll out, and there's just like this wall of like diaper boxes or whatever, and it's like there's not a lot of babies out here. Like baby diapers,
Right,
not
but it's like, what do we
elderly
have that
diapers.
we can provide? It's like, well, we have this, but we don't have like
That's just like the hair trigger reaction of like
Right.
how we like are gonna cope with it. And
but maybe we don't have enough IV bags, or we don't have enough like
yeah,
food, or like portable stoves, or all kinds of different things. Like it's a
Mm.
logistical nightmare.
yeah, food, medicine, water, like that was a huge deal. And yeah, it's like it's tough. It's like I have so many friends who were living and thriving there who like just live in the city now and like their whole family had to relocate because they don't have like a house. It's like I have students who like you know teaching there was like a thing where it's like year by year like the classes would be like smaller and smaller. Like her thing where she's like there were 8 people in my middle school class. I'm like, wow, big class, like there's a lot of babies that year.
Is 8 really
And
that
it's
big?
like, I mean, there like 6 was pretty normal. There
Oh,
was
wow.
I mean, there was a class of like middle schoolers that I taught for 3 years where it was just 2 boys for 3 years of middle school. And and then one of them
And they hated
got
each other.
no, they got on really well, but then one of them got kidney stones and was like in and out of like hospital for a little while, like getting him sorted out. And the other, you would just come in and he would just be like walking around in circles in the room, like just so bored. And I was like, and yeah, and like I would come in, like I was an assistant teacher, so it would be like me and the main teacher. It was just like 2-on-1, and I'm like, this poor kid. But yeah, it's like
Yeah,
even
no
with,
one wants that.
even with those small numbers, like so many kids, like it's like, well, we have to move out, like our family's moving out, like we got to move back into this family home, that family home, and it's like just very devastating to this like super vibrant culture. Like I think I sent you like the first set of pics I sent you is like just me at like different festivals, but it's like they're such a unique, cool like festival culture and like so much events that like have so much passion and effort like put into them. Like I feel like I got so many experiences there that like could not be like replicated anywhere else or like put into words. And like just and yeah, like the devastation on those kinds of things is like really unfortunate as well, beyond the human costs. So, yeah, sad stuff.
But that was
I
last
feel like-
year. What's your week been like this year? No,
Anyway, so I've been watching.
no, but it's like remote locations are so interesting, right? Because there's like a beauty in like the solitude and the like reclaiming of like buildings by nature. Like the aesthetics are great, but the logistics are not so much, right? Where you have a kid, two people in a classroom, and it's like, what do you tell people? Like, oh, leave your like ancestral home and go live in Tokyo. Like, it doesn't work for everybody.
Yeah.
But I know that as a challenge that Japan like is consistently trying to like rethink, and that's reflected in Skip and Loafer, which we can get into in a minute. But like, yeah, I don't know. It's very interesting. It's an interesting problem to have. I think you would really like Suzume, because Suzume, which is like the most recent Makoto Shinkai movie, contends with this in some ways, where a lot of what the plot of the movie is visiting like locations of spirit energy that are essentially like abandoned. And so like they go to I think a middle school that like has been shut down for lack of use, and an amusement park that has been shut down for lack of use. And like it's like and natural disasters, specifically I believe like the 2011 flooding, plays a huge role in the character and the character's arc and backstory and whatnot. And it seems to be an idea that Makoto Shinkai at least is like kind of obsessed with, because you see a lot of that in like Weathering with You and Your Name as well. He likes rain,
definitely.
but rain's also scary.
Yeah, the tragedies. I mean, it's definitely like I definitely found myself having deep thoughts about Mother Nature. Like, it's hard not to, I think, when the earth tries to like eat you,
Right.
to not kind of like stray in that direction. Like, there were definitely some moments of like seeing the destroyed houses and seeing the like flattened like structures and people's belongings just like out in the streets, and then just like driving by these like wildflowers and being like, wow, like just keeps going.
Yeah.
And like, you know, the same for like farms. It's like, yeah, this farm still works. It's like, that's crazy. Not to say that all farms still work, but I don't know. It's you know, she gives and she takes.
And speaking of giving, yeah,
fact.
there's going to be links in the description of this video if you have it in your heart to donate. I know we don't have a ton of viewers, but you know, we're going to be at the top of the iTunes chart any day now. So
yeah, when people are going back through the back catalog and all of our like billionaire viewers, or
exactly
when Beyonce checks this out and is like, what are these people saying about my album? I wonder. And then she keeps listening for a couple episodes.
Right.
You know,
and she's like, well, I also love Stardew Valley, so I got to go there. But I'm also going to start from the beginning because I'm a huge Dandadan fan. And so, like, it's going to take a couple weeks. But then when Beyonce, like, gets to this episode, it's like, okay, well, now let's match that $67,000 fundraising.
Yeah, it's
at the very
obviously
least.
Like there's a lot of causes out there. I would not blame you for if you're like, I am gonna give my money to people from Palestine or Ukraine, but it's just a cause that is obviously personal to me. Like, I just know so many people personally affected by it that, you know, just felt like putting it out there. So
yeah,
that's our spiel.
There's no way to transition to this. You know,
do you want to talk about what? Do you want to talk about Severance?
Man, Severance, it's still going. I watched Invincible this week. It was pretty good. Invincible season 3, a lot of destruction in that show.
What is Invincible about?
You know what Invincible's about, don't you?
What's Invincible? I don't even know that. Is it a cartoon or is it a...
It's cape shit. It is an animated show on Amazon Prime about a comic book, or based on a comic book by Robert Kirkman, who also made The Walking Dead, and it stars Glenn from The Walking Dead, Steven Yeun, in a voice acting role as a superhero, and it's get this wild concept. What if being a superhero was actually really bad and it sucked? And what if Superman was evil? Mind blowing concept, I know. But
what if his name was
comic
Homelander?
was like, Yeah, exactly. Weird that Amazon Prime has both adaptations, but yeah, it's like it's from like 2000. I think the comics from like the early mid 2000s. So it's some of those concepts are a little outdated at this point or have been a little overdone. But it's a pretty satisfying show where it, for one thing, it just has a ton of people in it. Like Sandra Oh plays his mother, J.K. Simmons plays his dad, the character Invincible, who is like the main character, who's like
The
your pretty
guy's name is
typical.
Invincible.
His name is Invincible, and he's very much not
That's
invincible.
crazy.
Which everyone
Whoa.
brings up like every other episode. Um, it's your very typical like Peter Parker-esque like I'm 17 and I just got my powers and I'm gonna go learn how to be a superhero. But then it's also just like incredibly violent, and his dad's basically evil Superman, and so there's a lot of problems with that. You've probably seen the memes before of like a mustached
He's
man.
like
Think Mark, think.
Jason.
Yeah, that's Invincible.
Think Mark. Yeah. Okay. I got. Yeah.
And you have JK, you have like Whiplash J.K. Simmons screaming at Glenn from The Walking Dead about killing humans and being an alien or whatever.
He is perfect for the role of like I feel like it's just like the line of like who's gonna be the next like weak little beta to get screamed at by J.K.
Exactly.
Simmons. It's just like a procession of like young little cute little guys getting just like
it's Miles Teller
devastated.
into Steven Yeun. It's very good. I hadn't been keeping up with it, and I just caught up to the third season, which just ended. And it is, I mean, superhero stuff is super played out. I have been watching like less and less of it as I get older, and as there's more and more of it available, it's like, man, this is really well-worn territory at this point.
We get it.
Yeah, great power, great responsibility. I've known that idea for like since I was like 6. I kind of get it. But one thing I do like about it is that essentially it takes what would normally be like a season-long arc and just kind of condenses it into like an episode. Not because the comic is much longer. Like the comic does the same thing. It's like, what if we do like a multiversal story, but for like an episode, as opposed to like 10 years of movies or something. And so that can be kind of wild and unexpected and fun. And so yeah, Invincible's pretty good.
Cool.
I really like the third season. Might be my favorite. So that's what I've been watching in addition to Skip and Loafer. I didn't have a ton of time this week, even though I still managed to make time for both of those things.
Yeah, you ran a half marathon, right?
I did. I ran a half marathon, which I traveled for. So like half of my week, I was not able to watch anything because I was traveling and being with friends and running a race. And so I did a little bit of binging of Skip and Loafer last night before we record. But I managed to get half of it done before I left and then half after. So that's pretty good. I was a little tired, but I enjoyed watching both things. But I also was catching up on Invincible at the start of the week. So I was like, well, this is not responsible, but let me wrap this up before I jump into something else.
I feel you though. I this week had plenty of time, and not only did I rewatched Skip and Loafer before the previous episode of the podcast just because I wanted to, and then I was like, well, I should rewatch it again for the pod so it's fresh. So I did that, but in between there, I did watch 3 seasons of Beastars.
Okay,
I just went crazy on.
Which you've
Beastars
also watched
this
before,
time.
right?
I watched season 1 when it came out, which I think was I want to say 2018, 2019.
Somewhere around there,
and I was a little fuzzy on the details and everything, but I remember, I think at the time it made me kind of uncomfortable, and I was like, I should explore this. But it took me a while to get back into it, and then I never really saw people talking about the future seasons until there was that video essay by Boring Keith, who I've watched a lot of his videos now. He made a 3-hour long video called Lego She's Gay, and just queer reading the entire series and every piece of media this person's ever been produced, be like, what if it's all about being gay or whatever? Which I think like the beauty of Beastars is like a lot of it is just kind of like about stigma and like societal expectations. So it's very
Like
easy
it's an
to,
allegory you can apply in a lot of different ways,
Right.
kind of.
and it feels intentionally written in a way to where it's like if you want to put race on this, you can put race on it. If you want to put gender on this, you can put gender on it. So it's kind of cool in that way. I feel like a little bit refreshing as opposed to like these sometimes like parody social critics shows that are just very like this is about this the end.
Right.
Like
You can do it in ways that are like subtle and insightful, or like ham-fisted and not so good. Like I just watched
yeah.
I also watched Mickey 17. I think I talked about this last week, but it was it's interesting to watch like a South Korean director, Bong Joon-ho, talk about Trump and talk about like Western politics and Western politicians, where it's like it's a little over the top. I'm not going to say that like things aren't already pretty crazy and over the top like in reality, but it just doesn't hit quite the same when you're living in it day after day. Like I don't really need to see Mark Ruffalo with like weird veneers make fun of Donald Trump, or Alec Baldwin for that matter, or like I don't know, it's like kind of like we get it, like maybe it's a little too fresh.
Yeah, no, I definitely feel that. But yeah, no, Beastars, yeah, maybe it's a little bit more timeless. Season 3 was like a little bit, but it's also apparently Season 3 Part 1, which is... Like,
I was going to say, is it fully adapted yet, or is it still getting there?
Yeah, apparently like the third season they split into 2, and I didn't find that out until like episode 11. I was like, where is this going? And then... yeah, like the ending of episode 12 is like a nothing. Like it's like okay. So apparently the manga, like that arc, is also kind of people are not as gung-ho about it. But season 2 is fire and amazing and some of the best like TV I feel like I've watched in like a long time. Like I would love to revisit that, but.
What do you mean?
We don't.
you're
we
gonna
don't
keep
got
threatening?
time.
We don't have time to talk about Beastars.
The loaded
we
gun
talk
of
about
like
Skip and Loafer.
It's like time to be furries.
Yeah, Mallory
It's just
continues to
like-
threaten to gay and furry. Like what are we? No.
We're steps
Animal
too far.
allegories? What are we talking about here?
Yeah. Let's talk
That-
about straight heterosexual humans.
Woo! No. See, the only things I know about Skip and Loafer prior to watching it, which I did this week, I watched the whole first season. The only things I knew about Skip and Loafer were the LGBT themes. So, like, you're continuing to Trojan horse me. No, I don't know. No, I'm happy to talk about those things as much as I like to play it up as, like, I don't know. Why am I taking on the persona of, like, I'm just a southern boy who doesn't understand these LGBT alphabet soup. No, I'm not. I don't know.
Someone has to be homophobic on the podcast to balance it out. So it's like, I'm not gonna get away with it.
Do they? Does someone?
This is like Jubilee. Like we have to have both sides represented. You know.
This is a bit. Sam is not a homophobe.
This is a bit. No one's homophobic. So anyway,
I'm happy to watch things that have LGBT themes, despite them not representing my lived experience. Disclaimer.
As you
we just have that going on the bottom the whole time.
Yeah, just like asterisks. This is funny. Yeah, Skip and Loafer, phenomenal series. I'm absolutely in love with it. These 2 rewatches were a beautiful experience for me. But what did you think, Samuel?
Yeah, I liked it. No, I've been wanting to watch Skip and Loafer for a long time because the character designs were so endearing and like the color palette like looked very distinctive.
Yes.
I've seen Mitsumi, right? Mitsumi.
Yeah.
I'm so bad with names. I've seen like Mitsumi's like funny expressions as like reaction images and GIFs and this and that for like a long time, and I follow a lot of people who are very passionate about Skip and Loafer. In particular, Danny, Lines in Motion, who has made some very, very good videos about Skip and Loafer. So I kind of went in with a little bit more knowledge than usual for this podcast, but not anything that like changed my experience. I don't think. I just knew about now the character a little more than like I would have if I just like jumped in blind.
Yeah.
But yeah, I liked it. I enjoyed it. No, it's funny. I am so like hot or cold when it comes to slice of life series, right? And I really spent a lot of time this week trying to figure out why this works for me, but maybe like Heartstopper didn't, or I watched Bocchi the Rock last year and really couldn't get into it. Like, I don't know what it is about a slice of life where it's like it works or it doesn't for me. And I have not been able to find like what's the X factor, what makes Skip and Loafer work. But it did work, and I really, really enjoyed it. It might be my favorite thing I have been pitched by you. So to be determined. Gonna hold that in, but yeah, it's up there.
Yeah, I'm very glad to hear that. It's interesting because it's hard, like, for me to empathize with not liking Heartstopper in any way. Because I do feel like I don't want to discredit Heartstopper and say that I don't read a lot into the characters, but I do think Skip and Loafer, there is like a lot of substance there when it comes to I was reading an interview with the author she had an interesting way of phrasing it where it was like she wanted to write kind of about like dark themes, she said, like with like kind of like people psychoanalyzing each other and like some of the kind of like darker sides of human nature. But she said if she just like kind of went at it, she would have just written like a really, really dark manga. So by like setting it in this like genre and setting that was like very lighthearted and like pleasant, it kind of like is that like sugar to help the medicine goes down, because there's definitely a lot that goes on, I feel like, with the characters that is very fun and interesting to look at. And there are moments like when I was thinking about the initial reason why I like really, really wanted to rewatch the series is like I couldn't find these clips on YouTube, and the clips that I wanted to watch were like the clips of Shima, who's like the big tall blonde boy.
Main character essentially.
Romance. Yeah, like I want to say like love interest, but I mean they're two main characters. It feels like is probably a better way. But yeah, like there are like these moments, specifically the one where he's talking to Mitsumi and she's like talking about the importance of going to school. It's like really important, and he's like, maybe it is to you. Like these like like kind of passive aggressive, like dark kind of like bursts, like these like little like I don't know how to describe
clouds
it,
on a sunny day.
Like,
he is
like that just come out and he can say with a smile, and yet it's so like hurtful, and it's like there's something about that just really like gets me going. I don't know.
Yeah, the human drama to me felt a lot more subtle than I would say like Heartstopper, which I think is something I enjoyed. I don't know. There's I think part of it is like live action to me I can find boring. Like because it's just the act of a show being in live action to me implies like some sort of reality, and I made fun of Heartstopper quite a bit when we were talking about it in terms of like the going overboard with like the set decoration and the situations the characters were in. Like we're gonna be in a party that's like an entire hotel, or we're gonna be in the most expensive high school known to man, like the nicest, most elaborate, like
yeah, I guess it invites more comparison to reality than like.
But if you abstract it by making them like cute anime characters, it like flips a switch in my brain where I'm like, okay, now I can just focus on the story in a weird way. That's not quite it, but that's kind of like the closest I've been able to get to a some kind of theory as to what's wrong with me, basically.
Very interesting.
Yeah. But yeah,
Skip and
Loafer.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go for it.
Did you have any standout characters? I think this is a very like character driven anime, so I'm curious if any of them were particularly appealing to you.
I did. I really, really liked, her name is Tokiko. Tokiko? Takamine. I don't. It is her last name or first name.
Takamine senpai. Yeah.
Takamine
Okay.
senpai. Yeah, I liked the vice president of the student council, the secretary and the vice president. I found that incredibly realistic. I have known like go-getter, live by a planner people in my life, especially in college and high school, and like someone who is very self-motivated to the point of destruction, right? To the point of ruining your life. I found that like whole arc incredible, and it's. I also really like Mitsumi because I think it's really impressive to have a character who is so plain, but it's Skip and Loafer in some ways is dealing with like really simple ideas of what does it mean to be nice to a person and what does it mean to like meaningfully impact someone's life. And it's all done in like small moments. It's like, I'm going to take this girl to Starbucks. I'm going to go to the zoo with my friend. I'm going to give someone a cracker. Like, it is very basic in terms of like if you had to describe like the Wikipedia summary of like what is the plot going on there, but it's presented in such an understandable and meaningful way that it's like, it makes me want to like hug my friends and be like, yeah, we're all going to get through this together, because it really is like life is full of these meaningful small moments where like a nice thing someone said about someone or a like shared like inside joke is really all you need to get by and to like get out of your own head, right? There's a lot of great like foil work in this series of like Shima and Mitsumi and Mika, who's like
yeah.
Dark Mitsumi.
just the worst. I love her.
Like,
She's so
like
funny.
Mitsumi is defined by seeing the best in people for the most part. Like, she has her moments of self-doubt and like questioning what other people's motives are, but like she always starts from the default of like, this is a good person, how can I be like them, or how can I help them, or how can I get along with them, get to know them. Whereas Mika always starts from this perspective of, how can I take advantage of this person? How is this person taking advantage of me? Like that.
Yes.
That is such an interesting back and forth. And I like that Mika is not like solved as a character by like episode 2. Like, she continues to have these regressions back to that way of thinking, but is slowly being made a better person by just being in the orbit of this other person who is Mitsumi, who is not doing anything mind-blowing, but just being like a gentle and kind person.
And it's like, I like the way you phrase that with Mika, because I like, one of my favorite things of hers is like the zoo episode, which is like midway or like later in the season.
It's like 7 or 8,
like,
somewhere around there. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Like, it's closer to the end of the season. It's like she has like gone through all this stuff where like she's realized that her little kind of strategies didn't really work to like get her close to Shima, who she has feelings for. Like, she is like realizing the value of like genuine friendship and like taking risks to like get closer with like Mitsumi and the other girls. But then she just has this moment of like seeing Shima with like the supermodel friend from his like childhood acting days, and is like, oh, okay, so he's that kind of guy. Like, oh man, like I expected better of him. And it's like, I've heard,
But it's also like
it
was like an I was right all along kind of thing, right? Where
Yes.
she's just like, okay, I knew it. All right, this charade's over. Everyone's mean. Everyone's
Right.
bad.
Right, and it's like, it's so real. Like, I feel like I've heard people say that. I feel like I've thought things like that, and it comes off as like so defensive kind of. It's like, if this guy's genuine and I actually care about him, that's going to hurt me a lot. The fact that he doesn't like me, or like when things don't go my way. And she's so ready to like slip back into that, and like, even in getting consistently kind of proven wrong, it's like, it's not really like how people work. Like they don't just like switch and like change their whole way of thinking and like drop these
Right.
defense mechanisms like overnight, you know. Um, so yeah, no, it's I really like that way of phrasing it. Like definitely, I want to talk about my favorite character, who is Shima, Shima Sosuke, or otherwise known as Shimasuke. Um, I absolutely adore this guy. I love him so much. There was like standees of him and Mitsumi actually like in Suzu that I took a picture and I'm like this on his like shoulder or whatever. Uh, he's good. I love him a lot. I think that like I really relate to his character in a lot of ways, and I'm like drawn to it in terms of like the kind of kid I feel like I was in high school. I was not like having like lines of every popular girl coming up and confessing their love to me.
Mallory is going to underplay
Um,
this, but Mallory was popular, and I would say struggled with that as an idea.
I I don't know. I was like very affable, I think, and it was very I was very like non-threatening, so it was like very easy for a lot of people to kind of like welcome me into their like little circles. But I think that like the people pleasing stuff, there's definitely like elements of that, but like also just like the whole slacker thing, like I don't know that I skipped school, but I was like late. I was like missing first period on a regular
You were
basis
giving
late.
like disinterested, which is in some ways really like an attractive quality in people. It's like, oh well, I'm just bigger than this, but in reality, it's like I wanted to sleep in. Eepy.
Yeah, there was like a lot of I feel like also because I was like kind of in the like high achievers bubble, I really was like surrounded by a lot of like Mitsumi and Takamine types.
There
Like
was a
that
lot
was
of
like a lot of my
Takamine types,
social
not a lot of
circle.
Shiba types.
Yeah,
Or
I felt
Shima.
very like out of place in that. Like I was in all these like higher level classes, but like I just could not. And like I mean, a lot of it was like undiagnosed ADHD, like just wrecking everything in my life for me. Like absolutely, like I could not just get my homework done. And I also just kind of couldn't take a lot of it like seriously or like get a lot of passion into it. And I think I relate a lot to his like realizations. Like I think I went through like a similar arc of realizing like, oh, like I kind of avoid this stuff and I get very defensive and like angry kind of when people like start asking me questions about like why I'm not coming to school on time and why I'm not doing my homework, because I'm
Right.
kind of like, defensively like not wanting to get super like the pressure and like expectations are like too much for me, and I don't really have any passions the way that the people around me do, or at least like they've been kind of subsumed a lot. And I feel like I don't know, it's I like seeing a character like him depicted in like both a sympathetic and very critical light. So I don't know.
Right,
He
because like
was
the
like a
attitude
character
he
that I
takes
connected a lot.
on, it's
Hmm.
not like it is the right way to be necessarily. Like it is dismissive in a way that does hurt the people around him.
Mm,
Like he's pretty harsh to Mika. Not that she does not necessarily like
yeah.
deserve it because she approaches their relationship very superficially at the beginning,
Right.
but it also affects Mitsumi in a way that is unfair to her, right? Where by being absent or affable, it results in characters worrying about him, which also like then circles back and makes him upset. But that's not necessarily those characters' faults. It's just like him. Everyone's a little bit too much in their own head, which is how life is, right?
Yeah. No,
Um,
definitely. And in that way, it feels very like realistic and like grounded in a lot of ways. In like those common high school kind of like conflicts and experiences. I feel like Shima is someone who feels like he can get away with just like not having any goals or ambitions and kind of throwing his life away in a way, and no one will get hurt because it's just something that affects him. But he's like slowly, and like I don't know how much he's really realized it in season 1, but like slowly feels like that's the direction it's going. Of like, no, like when people care about you, like you kind of need to like care about yourself as well, and
You need to
not
care about
caring
yourself, and you
yourself,
also need to
just
like care about them, because like it's not that he's mean to people, and he does obviously help Mitsumi a lot in the beginning, but it's almost by coincidence. It's not necessarily like him reaching out to a stranger. It's more just like him being there and being present, and providing
a
some
lot
like
of
much
it
needed
is,
like
yeah.
levity to her life, where she's all about like, I have this 18 bullet point plan for how high school's going to go, and then he's more like, he provides a different alternative that is the exact opposite of overthinking it, but then like the longer the show goes on, the more he gets in his own head about stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of the like weird dynamic where people pleasing, I mean, it sounds like a good thing on paper, right? It's like, oh, you make people happy, but it's like it feels very much like a defense mechanism. Like they show the divorced parents argument going on in his home. Like he like is, as much as it's like noble maybe in some ways, it's like it's also like conflict resolution and just trying to like get by smoothly, and sometimes like resolving conflict isn't necessarily the healthy or kind thing to do, and he prioritizes it anyway.
One of his friends calls him out
of,
on it, and like says like his friend Chris, who knew him before before the incident, which I have thoughts about that as well. That was probably the weakest part of the show, I thought. But he essentially says like, they're gonna find out, like you can only like play the disinterested, the affable, the like aw shucks kind of character for like so long before these deep-seated resentments that he has like leak out, and like it might not be something that is said in actual dialogue, but like the characters can feel him being disingenuous, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And now I have to stop speaking again, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, and it's cool. Like it shows those moments where it leaks, and I think that's like something. There's something so delicious about those moments. I don't know why. Like they're
it is
bad,
really dark.
But like,
you mentioned the author like wanting to like essentially put like some sugar on a very dark story. He is so mysterious, and they hold out information on him for so long that like I don't think you really start to get an idea of what's up with him until like episode 9. And so there's always that like a little bit of like tension anytime he's on screen, and anytime you get this like pain behind the smile, or like a smile that doesn't reach his eyes kind of like moment. They do a really good job of like capturing that, where I was very tense watching the show at times, which is not what I would have expected given the rest of the subject matter.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, I mean, even as early as like, I love the moment where there's like the like gregarious, annoying, like obnoxious,
the really pushy senior,
like Kanechika senpai, who's like the white hair, like Hawaiian shirt wearing like theater kid who's just like he realizes that Shima was like this child actor who was like in this drama that he watched, and he's just like passionately like going on a rant about it, and like Shima like pulls him aside and is just like, do you get it? I don't want to talk about it. It's like, you really called yourself a director, and you get like, he's so like sassy and mean. Like,
he has real moments
good.
of like, it's like, I hope that's not his true personality, as him being like evil or mean, but it does, you don't know for so long like what is his deal. And those little moments like him being pretty harsh to Mika really stood out, because it's like so unexpected in the first or maybe the second episode, the episode where they go to the movie theater. I think it's the second episode. And it's like, that's a character who really needs someone to be nice to her, to like get her out of her own head, and he is not going to be that person. He's going to be, because he's too much in his own head as well, so he's going to negatively impact her in a killing with kindness kind of way. unlike Mitsumi, who is just actually kind, right?
Yeah.
Not
And
to
I
say
can
that he
see it,
isn't
like,
kind.
I
He
think,
has his moments.
yeah, I sympathize with him to an extent of like she she is actively trying to get something out of him in a weird
Right.
way, and
No,
he
Mika
picks
makes
up
way
on
more
all of that.
sense. The
Yeah,
Mitsumi, like
like
when they're actually like having their little spat,
yeah.
it's not even what was said. It's what it's his reaction to be like, it'll resolve itself or it won't. Like there's a quote that I
Yeah,
grabbed
that's
from
toxic as
him.
hell.
It's really toxic. It's like that's you owe this person more than that, even if it is going to be troublesome. Like things are worth doing even if they cause like momentary strife. Like he's like sitting around judging Mitsumi when she has her little spat with the classmates about the play. He's like, is it really worth it to work hard if it's just going to lead to more trouble? And it's like, no, dude, you got to kind of like, you got to put in some effort. And like Mitsumi's living a more fulfilling life than you because she is working hard, even if it does come with more challenges. But he had a quote
Yeah.
in the third episode, which I think is the one we were just talking about the overly pushy senior, where he says, I tell myself that the things I'm undecided on were never that important anyway. There are only so many important
Oh,
things
yeah.
you can't compromise on, which is basically like, unless it's like life or death, I'm going to not have an opinion. And it's like, well, or I'm going to not pursue it. And so that comes back later when they're having their not fight, where he's like, well, I'm not going to check in on her and I'm not going to try and resolve things on my end, because if our friendship doesn't survive that, then was it really a friendship to begin with? And it's like, okay, stop being a jerk, you know?
That's absolutely his most toxic part. I love that. I think that quote is like when he is talking to Mitsumi in the hallway. I forget what prompts it, but yeah, like that's such a like defeatist negative view. I think
I think
do
it's in the
sympathize
it's in the
with him.
conversation of them
Yeah.
trying to pick what club they're gonna go to, right? Because she's gonna go to student council. He's like, I might not do a club, you know, shrug.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like I think I relate to him a lot in the sense of like I definitely had like that mindset to the extent of like being passionate about stuff and pursuing stuff. Like I think I definitely judged people around me for being so like hung
Try
up
hardy.
and like getting try hard and getting like so upset and like worked up about stuff in a way that like I got worked up about nothing because I was just like, I'm gonna detach myself from everything. And it's easy to like feel kind of superior in your head, I think, when you do that kind of stuff. But
Right, but it turns
I
out
can
that
also
teenagers don't
sympathize
make
it,
good
yeah.
good Buddhist monks, you know? They don't quite
Yeah.
get it yet. Yeah.
haven't you have to like have something to lose it, I think, but
Right.
to truly detach. But I think that I can sympathize it with the extent as like I think we haven't. This is why I really want season 2, or maybe I'll just break down and finally read the manga. But like I want to know about this dude's dad. I feel like that's like a missing puzzle piece. I can relate, or it could have also just been like people in his environment. But like I can relate to the thing where like you see people who are like so stuck and like their whole like identity is like dependent on like this material thing, and like they are just like, you know, killing themselves over it. And I think when you grow up in an environment like seeing a lot of that kind of stuff, it's like very easy to come to the conclusion that like it's better not to have any passions because it just leads to like grief and disappointment and like all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And like not engage in the human experience of like finding a balance and like, you know, deciding like how much you want to like engage with like passions and stuff like that. So I don't know, maybe I give him too much credit, but I like the boy, I like the kid.
He's a good chap. He's dynamic, which I like about it. Is like it's not one or the other. Like he's not only dispassionate and a jerk. He's not only hung up on people like liking him for his looks or for superficial reasons.
Right.
There's just a lot. It's not all about his parents' divorce. It's not all about his childhood friend. It was a little bit too much about his childhood friend for me, which I felt like, because they did such a good job like seeding out this idea that he's like much darker than he seems, that character to me felt a little like silly by comparison.
Yeah, it feels a little squashed, like her whole arc. I get what they were going for, but I do feel like it was kind of like, and then it's also like once you start like talking about like celebrity and like incidents
Right.
with children at like adult drinking parties, it's like, I mean, I'm optimistic and hoping that we'll get like more backstory there that will like make it feel more real and grounded, but it starts to feel like fantastical when we've had like a series that has been built up in such like solid realistic foundations of like
Exactly.
the high school experience.
I think that's why
definitely feel
I
that.
kind of balked on it.
Yeah.
But the rest of it felt great to me, which is like, it's how do you have a relationship with like a step sibling? How do you have a relationship with a parent who you have this like shared trauma with? Like, it's a weird when parents go through divorce, and I'm like a child of divorce, I get this. It's like it changes how you interact with both parents, and it's just all of that I think is still to be continue to be explored, and that is exciting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Something else that I like that the show really does not resolve by the first season is whether or not he likes Mitsumi. Like, Mitsumi, whether she knows it or not, is in love with him, and it's like very clear. But I like that
she
it's
kind of has the realization in the episode where she's running. She's like, into the
right.
sunset.
But even
After
still,
their
she's
fight.
like I think she's yelling to her childhood friend, and she's like, no, but like you can have those feelings about a friend, and they kind of leave it there. But it's very clear that she's going in that direction faster than he is, right? This might be a Skip and Loafer spoiler, but I don't know if it is or if it's just someone's interpretation that I read on Twitter at some point, and then I just like happened to remember. He seems somewhat asexual, which is a dynamic that would be very interesting to explore, because like, what is it to be the popular good-looking person but to not have any interest in romance, right? Like, that is something that I could see this manga tackling in a very nuanced way, because it also tackles like trans identity in a very nuanced way from what I've seen so far. And so like, it feels I don't know if that is like verbatim what it is or what the author has said their intention with this character is, and I don't want to know because it might be a spoiler for future seasons. So I don't know if that's like someone's interpretation or where the series is going, but it is. I couldn't get it out of my head while I was watching.
As far as I know, it's a headcanon, but I could not say either way because I also don't know like where the series goes. I do have to show you a meme. I'll edit it in.
Sure.
It's okay. It says lesbians in love. Arrow guy who is also here.
I've seen that format without Skip and Loafer.
Yeah, there's another one for the Dungeon
Oh
Meshi,
yes,
and
I
then
have
there's
seen the
one
Dungeon
for,
Meshi version.
The Green Yuri.
Excellent.
It's the most true meme I've ever seen in my life. And
right.
Also gives a great segue into talking about one of the, like, I guess the other two kind of main characters that we haven't really talked about that I'm very passionate about, which is
they're great. I know who exactly you're going to talk about.
Murashige and oh no, what's the
Kurume.
name? Kurume.
Makoto Kurume. Yeah.
Yeah. They are really good. I really like. Oh no, Kureshige?
You really like.
I just said it. Blonde hair.
Kurume and Murashige.
Murashige. Kurume. Okay, yeah.
She's
Murashige,
great. Every time she's on screen,
great.
I'm like, this is like the best character ever.
Yeah.
Because she's
adorable.
She's so much not the popular girl stereotype you're used to. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like the like, oh, what a beauty character can be such a stereotype and such a like one note idea. And then she's just not. She's just, kind of like her own fully dynamic, well thought out character. And I like that a lot. And that I think is something that could be said about the entire cast. Kurume gets a little like generic nerdy girl at times, but I am hoping that those two characters continue to develop in interesting, fun ways. Potentially romantic, potentially not. But yeah, no, sorry,
That's
please
the
continue.
thing. I I did not initially like read the romantic subtext, and then I saw this amazing meme, and I saw another amazing meme, which is of Kurame getting like really angry, and she's like red faced, and there's like smoke coming out. She's like, "I hate all the stupid popular pretty girls," and then there's just Murashige sitting in the back daydreaming about making out with her. It's really good. And I'm like, oh, okay, I could see that. And then rewatching, I'm like, I can't unsee it, because I just felt like the way that like they talk about it, like there's like the scene at like the school festival where like Murashige has her like art piece that she made, and then like all these dudes keep on like hitting on her.
That was so
and,
realistic. I like.
Yeah.
What does it feel like to be like desired for superficial reasons? Like, it is like, man, pretty girls cry too. Like, I thought there was just such an interesting framing.
It was
device
realistic
to be
the
like,
way.
everyone's coming up and
her,
hitting
like,
on me, and no one's asking me about my painting that's like right behind me.
Yeah, but it was also the way they would be like, "Wow, you painted that? That's really cool." I saw you in the hallway. You're beautiful. It's like they like
Right.
jump to this like kind of like weird idea of like, "Hey, I picked you. I thought you
Right.
looked good," or whatever. It's like as if that's gonna like just slay. And like I don't know, maybe there's someone it works on, but I feel like it's just so obvious and awkward, and like
If she was the
Yeah,
girl
but
they
it's-
expect her
yeah.
to be on, like, maybe it would work on her, but she's not, right? Like, she has spent a lot of time self-reflecting on like what it means to be like glamorous, and she like preemptively like gets ahead of the problems that she will have with Mika and the problems that she will have with Kurame in that theater episode in like a really interesting way that's kind of cold and kind of standoffish, but also like really like pragmatic.
Yeah.
And it's
No,
a
for
different
real,
approach
like-
than Shima, who is like deflect, dodge. She's like confront it head on and then move past it. And both like result in some problems. Like, she comes off as really standoffish, and they mentioned that in kind of the last episode where they're like, yeah, I can see how that kind of backfired. Like when we first met you.
No, sure, but it's also so satisfying to like watch her like melt through the course of the series and like show her true person. Like, she seems so cold and like that kind of thing, but then like when she's like sending the text when they go to Starbucks and she's like, "Why didn't you invite me?" Or like when there's like a scene where she comes up to Mitsumi and just like hugs her from behind. It's like, "What are you talking about?" And it's like she's clearly this like sweet, loving girl that like has not been afforded the opportunity to be like that because of this like weird kind of status that has been placed on her.
Right.
And yeah, seeing her arc is like very, very refreshing and nice.
I love that every character like starts out giving Mitsumi bad advice, and then like her powering through that bad advice is then what like changes those people for the better. Like, Mika is like, don't pursue this boy. He's a bad boy, or he's a heartthrob. He's gonna play with your heart. And Shima is like, don't care about anything. And Kurame is like, give up immediately at the first sign of trouble. And her just being like, I'm gonna do my own thing, results in those people being like, that was an option. You can just power through.
Absolutely. I feel like there's an extent also to where she's not good at like hiding how she feels, or like or really just like stopping her feelings from. There's like a lot of scenes where she's like constantly like fighting between like perfecting her like school, like doing everything right, and like resolving whatever emotional drama is like going on that day. And she tends to get really fixated on the emotional drama and overthink it, and like like lose sleep or not be able to focus on work because of it.
Right.
But
You're
I feel
talking
like
about
there's
Mitsumi
this
here,
interesting
right?
Yeah, Mitsumi, yes. I feel like there's this interesting like flip side of like because she's so like on the surface, like you can tell that when stuff is bothering her, and like even when she tries to like take care of other people's feelings and like bury things down and stuff like that.
Mhm.
She doesn't do it as well as like the other people do. So they
No,
can all
she's
kind
too-
of like
she's
see
too
what's going on
open.
in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in a way, that openness, like there's this comment that Kanichika, the like white haired dude, makes where he's like, wow, like is she okay? Like she's too easy to take advantage of, 'cause
Right.
she just like believes whatever bullshit that I say. Like I'm so used to people disregarding my opinion or like my words.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I think that like that her doing that and still being kind of like lovable, like invites other characters to drop their guards a little bit, I guess. I don't know.
Right. Well, like
I feel
every
like there's
character
just
puts
something
so
there
much
to,
pressure on
yeah.
themselves and pressure on these moments, and she's not any different. Like she puts pressure on herself, but she's not afraid to fail.
Mhm.
Right. Like she
Yeah.
mentions in like one of the last episodes, like I fall down a lot, but I always pick myself up. And it's like it's a simple idea, but you actually realistically see how that manifests throughout the series, right? Where like she doesn't get the best grades of the whole class. She's I think ninth in the ranking, which is really high, but she doesn't like she sits there and goes, "Well, I shouldn't obsess with about this because that would be unproductive." And then she's right. And then you see like there's so many evil versions of her ready to like jump in. Like what like especially Takamine
Takamine,
Vice-
yeah.
Takamine. It's just like, what if I was type A all of the time? Or what if I was type B all of the time? And her being a little looser about it, her being not as much in her own head about it, or being willing to fail, or being willing to embarrass herself, is really good. It's very sweet. And where other characters approach it like, well, this would ruin my entire high school career forever. She's like, I puked on the teacher, and then I said some dumb shit in class immediately. That's fine.
The joke that doesn't land is so funny.
I love when that comes back. I love when the president,
Yeah.
like the dumbass guy, is just like nails it, and she's like, "That was my joke."
She's like, how did he make the joke work of like I deserve to stand above? It's so funny. I kind of love the president as well. I relate to like all these like slacker guys because like
There's a lot of good
I was also,
small side
Yeah.
characters where it's like even these people are like really well thought out.
yeah, like I was class president in a very similar situation. I feel like not in that I like broke my leg at playing soccer, but just in the terms of like I wasn't necessarily. I just kind of like showed up and just cashed in on my popularity.
Showed up
became
and
class president.
Yeah, won.
Didn't do a whole lot. Like my senior year, and it's like I feel sympathetic in that like it's like he's kind of like, oh, you know, the stuff that Takamine is getting so worked up, like it doesn't matter that much, and you should be able to like have a joke about it, but while at the same time like not you know, fully like, you know, just being like, oh, all your hard work is like meaningless or whatever, like
Right.
appreciating it, but also being like, hey, you can take a break, there's no one here, like that.
He's not
that scene I love.
strictly a villain. Like he's not like abhorrent, right? He's not like none of this matters and this is just for fun and clout and I'm like this mean evil clout chaser. Like he's aware of what he's doing and he's aware of like kind of how unfair it is that he's the one who's the president, but he's also her approach is also wrong, Takamine.
Yeah.
Because you
No,
can't
absolutely.
like you can't live and die by like a spreadsheet, an Excel sheet. Like you can't like
You can't perfect
imprison
and
yourself
100%
in this wall
life.
of logistics and budgets and what have you, but you also can't be so lackadaisical that you hurt people's feelings.
Yeah, I think that's like such a the opening scene of like Mitsumi like describing like her plan of like I'm going to lead an exact 100% perfect high school life. Then I'm gonna be like a politician here. Then I'm gonna be the mayor of my town. And then when I die, they're gonna scatter my ashes in the Sea of Japan.
I love the interview where she's in the like old lady version of hers in the
Yeah.
car, and it's like
She's
you do know these
fantasizing.
kinds of politicians, but they're not like they're not actually real, right? Like they're not 100% like this perfect like civil leader.
Yeah, it's I feel like it's such a common high school thing to be like so bought into that like rat race almost of like I'm going to 100% life and like not make any mistakes. And I think that like it's also hard being a high schooler having already fallen off of that and already kind of like looking at it from the outside and being like, hey, you guys are kind of pushing yourself too hard, but then like finding that balance, I guess. I don't know.
Right.
It's something that keeps me. It's the kind of high school story that I'm interested in because it's yeah.
Well, because it reverberates throughout these lives, right? Like now has an interesting insight into Mika, where she's like, she relates to her, and she's like, but she's approaching it from the perspective of both someone who went through a much more dramatic like identity switch when it comes to like her transitioning, right? But also, I assume I don't know much about it because that hasn't been terribly covered in detail. But I know that she transitioned like out at all as well as transitioning out of adolescence, right? Whereas Mika's more just dealing with like simpler problems, but it's she has that removed, I'm an adult, it's not that serious girl, like you're trying too hard approach to it, which is like so refreshing after episodes and episodes of these characters like, if I don't succeed at the volleyball game, then it's gonna ruin my class's morale going into the midterms. Like, it's fun.
How am I gonna give Shima his pickles? I don't know what I'm gonna do.
I think the fact that the show knows that life isn't that serious, so that these moments aren't that serious, is what makes it refreshing and exciting to me in a way that, like,
yes.
I'm gonna pick on Bocchi the Rock for a minute. Bocchi the Rock, I think, doesn't do that, where it tries to have its stakes, but also is silly and ridiculous and nothing really matters. Like, this just felt more, they're very different shows, but like this just felt more compelling to me, because like it both convinced me that the smallest of moments can like wildly impact people's lives, while also being like, you're allowed to fail and fuck up and still, pass high school and get a good job. Like, it's gonna work out.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's a very like I feel like this is like a regular stamp that I like give certain shows where I'm like, yep, they went to therapy. It's like, even if they didn't, I don't know if they actually
the
went
author
to therapy,
did,
it's
right?
Like, I'm like,
like
like the author, and I'm like you have reflected on and grown from your high school experience, and you're not like carrying a ton of resentment and using your position as a showrunner to like lash out at people you didn't like in high school,
right?
Which I think is pretty embarrassingly common in like other high school related media. So
yes, I would agree.
Yeah, no,
it is.
Kudos to the
I'm
writer.
aware of who I was, and now I'm gonna like make a cautionary tale against that, or help like people do better than I did.
Yeah, like I think like I've talked about relating to Shima. Like I think if I wrote this show and I hadn't done this reflection, like it would paint characters like Mitsumi and Takamine in this like really like cartoonish, horrific light, and every episode would be about how wrong they are and how
the worst thing you can do is be a busybody.
Yeah, and there are shows like that, I feel like, and I like that this isn't. I want to talk about now because we haven't gotten to that.
Just like to wrap up that conversation, it's
for sure.
The smallest and the largest characters, they all seem to be more dynamic than I would have expected, which is great for a show like this. I know we referenced Toradora last week or when you were asking me about my experience with Slice and Life, and like Toradora, I am nostalgic for and did very much enjoy, but it is like, those are caricatures, right? They're like, you're the paper tiger, or you're like the kid with the scary eyes. You're not like what feels like a living, breathing. You're the baddest bitch
in the whole school. Shout out Ami,
right.
Best fictional character.
Love Ami, but I would say that like Morishige like ran, or Ami walked so Morishige could run. Like it.
So she could fly.
It's fun to see that a show that can be a lot more nuanced than just like fist fights every episode can be around and still be entertaining. But yeah, let's talk about now.
Now, I mean, obviously, like, we had to talk about it trans. I have a huge connection to Now beyond the Noto thing and the trans thing. which I feel like those two things happen. It's like, okay, I'm very connected to Now. But then one of my best friends from like, well, she's not from Noto, but she was like living there at the same time, had this dream about me. So I transitioned while I knew her, and she found out via Instagram because we weren't that close friends like when I transitioned. So there was just an announcement that like, oh, I'm changing my gender and I have this different name and like all this kind of stuff. So she's like, oh, I have to change the name that I call Mal. And then she like had a dream where I did it again. Like I made another Instagram announcement that I was changing my name again. And it was really sweet because she just like in her dream, she's like, oh, okay, I better be respectful and like address.
She was stressing out about the name specifically.
Yeah, she's like, oh, I see, you know. But in the dream, I changed my name to Now, apparently. And she hadn't seen the show yet. But yeah, that's like my altered like Japanese name now in my mind.
Somewhere in this
Now.
shared collective consciousness, you are Now.
Yeah, so I'm like that's three. Like not only was it the trans thing and the Noto thing, but the being connected by this like dream. I'm like, yeah, she's my baby. I love Now. I think that this series like the representation like there's a couple things in the phrasing where I'm like, you could have changed the wording there, but
there's
it's
definitely like some this is the
I'm
Japanese
not
way
picking
that
up
this
a
is referred
pitchfork.
to. Right, yeah.
Yeah.
This isn't how like an American, or I guess like an American in San Francisco, for instance, would like this is not the language that you would use to refer to this. And I think even things like her calling herself Now's uncle to Mika just to like ease that like announcement essentially, it's a little different than how is written about or written into LGBT shows that we've watched or that are like Western LGBT shows.
Definitely.
And but yeah, speak on that,
yeah,
Queen.
Like, giving like room for that, like obviously like the way that like being transgender and stuff like that is like understood and how people live their lives and like different cultures is going to be different. From my perspective, at least, like I think the only scene that I'm like not crazy about is when she disguises herself as a guy to like spy on like
at the zoo, right?
Couple at the zoo. It's funny, and I like that both her and Mika are stalking them together,
right?
And that they form this like mutual friendship of like trying to figure out like what is with this handsome dude that's hanging out with my little Mitsumi. But like I don't know any trans people that would do that
right
for like a bit.
It's a little unserious for a character that's pretty like well portrayed otherwise.
Yeah, like I think I know people like there was a time like early in my transition where I would drive around with like a change of male clothes in my car in case I need to use the bathroom with the like I'm gonna change and then like go to the bathroom like this, which is like, you know, I don't know if that was necessarily even the most logical thing to do, but like there's stuff like that happens, and
but that was from a perspective of like safety, right, as opposed to like
yeah, exactly, like
cartoonish
that's a lot
slapstick, right?
It's a lot bigger of a situation, and like I could understand that being depicted, but yeah, this was like more of a cartoony gag type of situation. It's like, oh, I have the ability to disguise myself as a man, like let me do it or whatever. Which, but you know, to each their
it unfortunately
own. Like,
plays
I don't think
into
it's
like
offensive.
Trans opposition stereotypes, right?
Yeah,
which is
like
an uncomfortable conversation.
The worst takeaway that someone could have from that is like, oh, she like, you know, she can just conveniently turn back into a man whenever it suits her or whatever.
Right, like you can interpret it as like her treating her identity flippantly, which is not the intention, but could be a poor reading of it.
Yeah, I would hope that not that many people come away with that reading, because I do think it's overall like a good it does very much show like, you know, when there's scenes of her like waking up first thing in the morning because she's like Mitsumi's living with her, and like it shows her like it's like, yeah, this her gender is not like a costume that she takes off at the end of the day.
Right.
So I do think it like does a lot of work to combat that, and I think there's also just like there's a lot of positives about it, and like just like realistic things, you know, like when she tells Mitsumi like, hey, when your friends come over, like make sure to like remind them that I'm biologically male. I'm like, that's real. I've done stuff like that. I mean,
That
I don't
jumped
have a
out to me
niece.
as like very quietly sad and but realistic, right? Like the steps you have to take to appease potentially like bigots or what have you. Like I don't want to. She's very clearly coming from the approach of I don't want to mess up Mitsumi's life. I don't want to
Right.
like bring my. I don't want to call it baggage because that's not fair to now, but like my situation, I don't want that to impact her situation. And so like she tells her that in case like her friends, not that her friends would have a problem with it, but that her friends' parents would, right?
Yeah, I guess I interpreted with the friends like that they might be surprised, even though like the likelihood of that happening is like pretty low.
I think
but
she
just, like, their
explicitly says like
understanding.
tell her,
But
make
yeah.
sure her parents know this, or their parents know this.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I could see that. Yeah, no, I definitely agree, and I think that like it probably speaks more to the fact that I like do these little things where I like compromise my like I'm like, okay, let me like make other people more comfortable by like being overly like explanatory about my identity and stuff like that. That I'm like, that's just normal. But I'm like, them's the bricks. But it does. You're right that it is sad that she feels like she needs to mention that when it like shouldn't be relevant to anything.
right.
But
But
yeah.
it is sweet that you see like this generation, like these 15-year-old girls, right, who are like kind of unburdened with all the baggage of the previous generations. Like they all respond to now very positively, and in some cases even more positively than expected, like her weird nice relationship with Mika, which is just so sweet. I love that they follow each other on Instagram and like that just like keeps coming
That's
up
so
throughout the
good.
rest of the show.
Yeah, it's really funny. I think like as a teacher of like 15-year-old kids, I feel like it's like that is what kids are like. They don't care. Like you get so stressed and worked up. Like I transitioned like publicly basically in front of my students, and like they're just
Okay.
like oh you know like
Right.
kids really don't have that much baggage, and if especially if the school is like this is normal, then the kid will be like okay,
Right.
you know.
It's
And
it's like
I like
exposure to like meeting an actual trans person like rapidly changes your opinion on
Yeah.
all of those issues in different ways, right? Like I would say that
Yeah,
I'm
it's
much more knowledgeable for sure, but also like more open about the idea of like trans issues and transitioning in general by like knowing you, right? Not that I was going around being a bigot or something before, but like
right. Yeah,
it
yeah.
it widens your worldview.
Yeah, because it feels like when the trans person is not like this like hypothetical mysterious force, but it's just like the person that like brings you your groceries, or like you know
Right.
in Now's case the person who like you know lets you have a sleepover and like provides snacks or whatever, or like gives you relationship advice.
Right.
Like it's not about the fact that they're trans. That's just a secondary thing, and I think that like eases a lot of those like kind of confusion or type of stuff. So
There's
I think overall it's like a very realistic portrayal, and I like it a lot. It's one of my favorite depictions that I've seen in like a I guess like more major mainstream like TV show. But yeah, sorry, continue.
well, I mentioned this in the Heartstopper episode, but I think it's great that like you can have a character who is trans, but they're not defined by the fact that they're trans. Like they are a living, breathing human. I know this is an anime, but you get what I'm saying. Like they're a dynamic character beyond just their identity. Like they're more than just their sexuality, their identity, what have you, right? Like, and that by having more shows like Skip and Loafer or Heartstopper that present characters as three-dimensional people, It's weird because I keep talking about anime, so I'm like 3D people or 2D but realistic.
Getting really stuck on the 3D.
Yeah, no, it's weird that it like how language works sometimes, but it normalizes it. It makes it more accepting. It is. It also just makes the stories better, right? It's like kind of gone are the days of like Boys Don't Cry or like Brokeback Mountain, where like the whole thing is those cowboys are gay. Wow, that's kind of crazy. Like, it's
the heck.
The normalizing I think is really important and great, and I'm happy that's the case. And you're not gonna like Now's girlfriend isn't gonna be fridged, or if she has a boyfriend, he's not gonna be fridged. You know what I mean? Like it's just like
yeah. No, it's
getting away
cool,
from
and
that.
it's also like we're seeing exactly what we want, which is like she's living a happy, successful life as like a fashion designer in Tokyo, and is like thriving in her way. And her life's not perfect. She has her own like flaws. They're not like fully necessarily explored in season 1, but it feels like to my knowledge they're going to be expanded on. But like her life did not end because she came out and transitioned.
Right. And
like,
she also didn't become a
opposite.
saint, and she didn't become like a person you should pity forever either, right? She just became just remained what she was already, which is like a person.
Yeah, absolutely. It's also something like interesting that this was another like interview quote that I read that I thought was like interesting, where the author was talking about how like a big part of her goal in writing like Mitsuki and Mitsumi, Mitsuki, my love, Mitsumi
Mitsuki moment.
Mitsuki mentioned. Mitsumi and Shima was that Mitsumi she wanted to write as a character that like could only have been raised in like the countryside, like a character that like if she had grown up in the city would not be the way she is. And with Shima, tried to make a character that could only exist in like the city, and talking about like which type of places that people like thrive better in, and that's kind of like a open-ended question about like Mitsumi, like of whether she would do better like if she were to go back home, like she would thrive better, or if she's like really suited and like up to the whole Tokyo thing.
The Shima speculates of that at one point, but it's also not clear if that's him being his bias, right?
Exactly. He expresses that fear that's like kind of on the audience's mind, and kind of on like Mitsumi's parents seem like they're thinking that, like
her best friend's very concerned for her at all times, which is really sweet.
Right. Yeah. And then like now kind of serves as like this like, they're literally from the same family, so it's like, about as close as you can get as like someone who grew up in that environment and did not thrive in it evidently, and like moved out to the city to like, be able to experience a more accepting culture. So it's
in Tokyo you can in New York you can be a real person, right? Or whatever the Hamilton line is.
Yeah. In New York you can be a new man.
Yeah, I think it's new man, which is like, oh, that's a little tricky, but
be a woo man. There you go.
In New York you can be a woo man. You can be a stylist.
But it's very interesting, like a running theme throughout it that like I'd like to see explored more. Like I don't know.
I am going to send you this Lines in Motion
Yeah.
video because it talks a lot about that, about the idea of like now had to leave her homeland, her home, like her place
Hometown.
to like thrive. Yeah, her hometown. Whereas like Mitsumi wants to revitalize her town by leaving, and like is not necessarily thriving at the beginning of the show, but is also like has more freedom to pick between the two as opposed to now. And that's kind of like, it's not Mitsumi's fault, but it is it's sad in a way, like it's melancholy at least.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's very interesting. I think it's also something that like I think I thought a lot about, like living in that rural area. Like when I came out in transition, like it was like a real like we had the trigger ready of like if my like workplace wasn't accepting that, or if the harassment got bad, that like I would be moved. And like there wasn't harassment, like it was just fine. And like it was really interesting of an experience of like I think a huge part of it was that I was an outsider, like that I was a American that was white, that was like not a part of this culture. And it's like I think less threatening to the status quo to have like a foreign gay person than a native gay person. And it's like I think at the same time, like I met so many like queer people like in and around the area, or like people who'd like grown up in the area who like suffered a lot from the bullying and like were like, well, I can't live here anymore. Or like, you know, queer people like trying to make the area like a more accepting place and stuff. I don't know, it's just I don't really know if I have like a great major point. It's just interesting like how that works, and like how I feel like I can't go back to my hometown even though I probably could, and it's probably all in my head. Just based on like my experiences that I had growing up there, and being seen as like part of that place in a way like gives people this sense to like they want to like push their expectations onto you in a way that like living in a foreign country I don't feel like I have much any expectations pushed on me, and it's very freeing. I don't know.
It adds a whole nother layer to it, right? Of like being a foreigner in a foreign land, and then also being like foreign in the sense that you're not like presenting like heteronormativity, right, in Japan, but it being like you're come from a different culture, so like it's like there's so much wrapped into that it's like it's very much a unique situation.
Yeah, no, definitely. So, I don't know. Cool stuff. Cool representation. I really like the scene where they're on the train and the girls are like being like, "Is that a man? No way," because that's what happens. And then Mitsumi just like grabs her and pulls her closer. It's really really sweet.
Right. And then she's just like, isn't she like a mess at the time? She's got like the bags under her eyes and she's like not been sleeping.
Yeah.
And it's like,
no, absolutely.
Yeah. I appreciate the show. It never gets very dark, but it has it also is willing to acknowledge that there is darkness in the world, right? And I think that is a fine line to walk, and I was just like, yeah, very impressed all like throughout the whole show. It made me care about a school festival. I thought an anime could never do that again, you know?
We're done with the school festival. I'll say that to me is my weakest part. Like I feel like I as much as I think it's weird, I don't have as much of a problem with like the magazine model friend that comes in. But like there are just some parts that feel very like, and we all brushed our teeth and ate our vegetables and everything went right. It's like they're like, you know, and if there's and you know, if we weren't all in the same class, we wouldn't be friends, gets said like 7 different times. Like
yeah.
I realized a lot of that happens in the volleyball episode, which I also started realizing like, oh, this seems like a lot of still frames that they maybe like are using to mask like all this sports animation they have to do in this episode.
Maybe a
little
bit,
that,
yeah.
But yeah.
I think there's a good moment in that school festival moment where they say like, it doesn't feel like it's only been 6 months, and that is
that part's nice.
There's something about the mundanity of high school where it's like, yeah, like a year in high school feels like it lasts 10. But that can also be like a necessary part of growing up. It's like everything is new and different. You're learning all the time. You're learning how to navigate dynamics and friendships and more than friendships and whatnot. And it's like every little moment counts, and you'll like carry those ideas with you, and they'll mold you into the person you're going to be for the rest of your life. Or they don't, and you escape high school and become a whole different person. Like, it really just depends. But the show makes a great case for like why it's so important to like let kids be kids, but also what they're doing does matter. It doesn't matter as much as maybe they think about it, or like the things that they get stuck on aren't as important as maybe they're making it. But the overall experience is important for making these people into like forget about productive members of society, but more just like functioning humans on like an emotional level.
Yeah.
Like I like that
Yeah,
that
yeah,
part
yeah.
to me matters way more than like whether they get into Tokyo U or what have you. It's more
Yeah,
like
it's like
whether they're
building
able
their
to grow and be like more fully fledged humans. I love the fact that they show Kurume's like other friends from middle school who have not done like the same arc or growth as she has, and how she is now turning around and like making them into more like accepting people. Like, hey, it's okay, I know this person's pretty, but we can still be friends with her, and she's actually really great, and look at her Welsh corgi painting. It's just great, you know. There's a quote
yeah.
really early on from Mitsumi that is like pretty much the thesis statement for the series, and it makes me want to be a better person. So that's a really high praise for an anime. But like she says, you can never understand what people are thinking, so I'll try to understand them little by little. And it's like that's a very basic, obvious concept, but it's also really beautiful. And yeah, Skip and Loafer is really good.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I'm very glad this series could resonate with you because it's fire. It's good. It's
It
just
is fire.
really hits for reasons that have nothing to do with all the like personal connection stuff I was talking about. Like the parts that I'm most invested are is just like that central human drama like going on with the high schoolers. It's like it's just a good show, and it's like I want to see more of it. I want to see more like it. That's my feelings.
I agree. Yeah, I don't have. It's weird. I don't have like as much of a one-to-one comparison as maybe you do with like what character is me from when I was in high school or is me now. But there's pieces of a lot of them that I'm like, I really relate to that. Like, I wasn't a valedictorian or like a super student, but I did try very hard and get in my own head. So like maybe Takamine is like I'm really butchering that name, but it is what it is. That's probably like the closest allegory I have to myself, but I feel like I have a little bit of Mika in me, and I feel like I have a little bit of Mitsumi in me, and it's like that's just it's great, you know.
Yeah, no, that's something I was interested in. I was like, I don't know where you would place yourself in the dynamic in the way that like I feel like I have such a clear like just these boys that like get away with stuff like Shima and the
Don't make me the
president
blonde
soccer
annoying
captain.
kid or the president kid.
Yeah, but
Yeah, I don't know.
good
There's
series.
also a little bit of like the play producer guy, but that was more college me, I feel like, where I was like, we got to get really involved in these student programs and da-da-da-da-da, and I'm also going to go write the great American novel and blah, blah, and that's just not really who I am or what I am.
Yeah, I could feel myself swinging more in that direction also, probably in like college.
It's hard
of,
not
like,
to look at any
okay,
creative
let me-
in a show and be like, I love you, even though that character is annoying.
Yeah. Yeah, no, totally. Do you think he's gay?
I don't think it matters, which is what's great about Skip and Loafer.
Well, but I feel like I'm constantly like, is he supposed to be queer coded?
He's flamboyant, but there
I think he just
are
doesn't
guys
care.
I've known in my life who are not gay, as far as I know, but are like that, like life of the party. Not life of the party is not the right way to say it. They're overly friendly with everybody, right? And it's really hard to like pin them down into one sexuality or what have you. Identity.
That's why the only reason I wouldn't say if he was just flamboyant and just cross-dressing for the play, but it's because he's like obsessed with Shima as well. But he has obvious reasons that are nothing to do with that to be obsessed with Shima, which is that he wants good actors for his like masterpiece plays that he's writing. But that's just like that was like one thing that's cooking. I'm like, is this supposed to be a queer-coded character or not? But I don't know. I
hope
don't know
the
why
show
the
continues
series
to get into these messy ideas as it goes on. Like I want to explore these ideas even more. I don't want the show to become an over like a crazy drama or anything, but I hope it continues to do what it has done, which is like gently, positively respectfully approach what it means to be a human, you know?
Yes. I'm asking the very like catty TMZ headline.
Do you think he has a crush on
questions.
Shima? Yeah.
That's like the approach that I'm coming at it from, and it's too empathetic of a show for me to handle that. But yeah, I think I've done pretty good in this so far. But how are we gonna rate this one?
How am I going to rate this one? 5 leaf blowers out of 5, you know? I think it's an A. It is an A for sure, I think, which is the highest I've rated anything on this podcast that you have pitched. So, you know, step it up, really, if we think about it. No,
we made it.
I was concerned I'd be over here and be Mr. Humbug, like, it's just so boring, and I'm so sick of these, like, tropes in this high school, blah, 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 blah. But I found the show to be incredibly nuanced and incredibly well-presented and really, really well-paced, which is something that I often am lacking in slice of life. I think sometimes slice of life can go too mundane or too themed, and I found this show to be kind of about nothing, but also incredibly insightful and beautiful. So yeah, character writing A+, show overall A. What are we gonna watch next week? I don't know. I really don't. So I got a couple different routes here.
Okay.
I know you want to watch Severance, and you want me to use my ask to make you watch Severance, but we're talking about what will be by the end of next week 19 episodes of a show if we were to do both seasons. And I really don't know if we can talk about it if we don't do both seasons, because I've seen both seasons already, and you've only seen one season, or you will have seen one season if it's just the one. So we could go that route. I have some much easier options that are like a couple different movie ideas. What are you feeling like?
I feel like I want a challenge, and I feel like I could be used with held my... I want to say I feel like my nose should be held to the fire, and I'm really wondering if that's something that any
not a phrase, not a
said.
thing. Yeah, I don't know. Your feet to the fire is a phrase. Nose to the grindstone is a phrase, but nose to the fire, nothing. I'm not sure if you're ready for Severance. You know, it's a kind of no.
I haven't had my nose on the grindstone nearly enough, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm down for a challenge, so I'm not balking at like the episode count. But, you know, it is your recommendation, and I don't want to, like, twist you too much if that's not what you feel like talking about next week.
For sad reasons, I'm just less and less passionate about Severance. The joke I made to some of our friends who have watched it is, like, I caught up on Severance just in time for it to get bad. That's not really true. It's not bad. It's just I've not enjoyed Season 2 nearly as much as Season 1, and I'm, like, not terribly enthused to talk about it. So what I'm thinking about doing is pitching you something that you've seen and I haven't, which works really well sometimes and not so well other times. You know, the only other thing I've pitched on this podcast that I haven't seen was Amelia Perez, and that was a choice.
Well, that was great, though.
It was great.
It was. I mean, it was great to talk about, and I was like, I felt like I'm part of the zeitgeist. Look at this. Like,
I can confidently say that the idea I have is both not a part of the zeitgeist, but also will almost certainly be better than Amelia Perez. But I'm pretty sure you've seen it, and I haven't. But I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about Porco Rosso.
I haven't seen Porco Rosso.
You haven't seen Porco Rosso? Okay, let's watch that.
All right, cool. That's
all I got. I don't know why. For some reason, I was like, I want to watch about a pig fighting fascism. I want a little bit of escapism in my life right now.
Here's the thing, is I might start watching Severance anyway.
That's fine. You can talk about it on the intro.
I feel like it's past the I feel like I was kind of like, let me hold out in case Sam pitches me Severance, but I mean, you can obviously still pitch me Severance, or I can pitch Severance.
I'm not pitching you Severance.
I gotta watch Severance now. I gotta know what's happening.
You
I gotta
can
see who's getting severed.
We can have a whole long intro about it next week if you catch up. It ends. The season finale is coming out before our next episode recording, so. But I would rather us get no views and talk about a 1992 Ghibli movie. So
yeah, we need to bring
that
the
internet
view count down. We're getting too hot. We're getting
too
buzz.
popular too fast. Beyonce Beyonce retweeting us really just boosted those numbers.
Do you think it's too late to add Beyonce
as a third chair?
No, like at her, like tag her in the podcast.
I don't think that would work for us. I don't think we want that smoke.
You think the window might have passed. We should have thought about it. If only the timing had been right, it would have worked out.
I think she's moved on from Lemonade, and we are unfortunately stuck in the past.
All right. Well, Porco Rosso, yeah, I don't know anything about it. I just know.
I thought for some reason you had watched it.
Movies I haven't seen. Yeah, I there was a phase where I was like trying to get through them and like watch a bunch, but I think I got like 4 deep and was like, I kind of get it.
I did the exact same thing. I was like, Nausicaa, great. Totoro, boring but kind of great. Castle in the Sky,
watching Totoro twice.
Very old. Kiki's Delivery Service, great. I watched that in that streak, and I was like, this is amazing. But you can't really marathon Ghibli movies, I feel like.
Howl's Moving Castle, gotta watch the dub.
You need that Christian Bale.
Yeah, you need Christian Bale. You need Christian Bale being like, good girl, and being like, whoa.
And the panties drop. No, you need Shia LaBeouf in the Nausicaa dub. They've had a lot of weird dubs. Ghibli.
You gotta have Shia LaBeouf in the Nausicaa dub.
I'm probably gonna watch the sub. I might watch both. For Porco Rosso.
I'll probably watch the sub. Well, I guess I'm talking about games, so maybe I should watch both.
Maybe.
Being like, I'm gonna watch so much stuff for this podcast, but
yeah, I want to watch
excited
Cool
to
Planes.
Find out what this crazy little pig is doing.
Yeah.
What's his deal?
I don't know.
How's he part of the Ghibli?
But I want to know.
Let's make one prediction about the movie Porco Rosso each.
I bet there will be well animated food in the movie.
That's easy. I want to take a risk. I'm gonna bet that Porco Rosso kills someone. I'm gonna bet that he takes the life of someone.
He takes the life
of a human life,
I think they're like it's like fighter pilots, right? So I think that's realistic that might happen.
I'm gonna bet that Porco Rosso doesn't take a life. That he's a pacifist.
We'll check back next week.
Okay. Yeah, that's gonna be my actual bet. Is that Porco Rosso doesn't kill anybody. If Porco Rosso kills even one person, I'm done for.
I'm glad I threw you a curveball, and I was like, we haven't talked about this. I haven't given you any idea that I was thinking about this, but I was like, something last night for some reason I was like, I'm gonna go watch the Princess Mononoke's coming to 4K IMAX, and I was like, or not 4K, IMAX. And I'm about to shell out a bunch of money to watch a movie I've seen like a million times. And I'm like, I should really watch more Ghibli movies because I really like Princess Mononoke. And I was like, pig movie. Yeah. I'll pitch that on the podcast.
Yeah, no, it's good. I think you're doing the right thing in the spirit of the podcast, keeping it more toast. I think I foreshadowed and talked about Severance too much, like expecting you to pitch me it, that it kind of like took the steam out of it in a way. It's like, you know, but you got to keep me guessing. You know?
I do, and I have.
Same time next week.
Same time next week.
Have a great night, Sam.
Have a good morning, Mallory. That's wrong.
I did that every. Okay.
Now we're done. No, cut. I'm stopping the recording.